Right now, as you're listening to this, there's something on your mind. Maybe it's a conversation that didn't go the way you wanted. Maybe it's something that hasn't happened yet and might never happen. Maybe it's that constant, low-grade feeling that things are slipping out of your hands. Whatever it is, I want you to bring it forward. Hold it in your mind like an object you can actually look at. And now ask yourself one single question. A question so simple, it almost sounds too easy, but one that the Stoics discovered over 2,000 years ago, and that modern neuroscience has only recently confirmed. Can you control the outcome of what's worrying you right now? Yes or no? Answer honestly. If the answer is yes, the anxiety you're feeling is information. Your mind is telling you to act. If the answer is no, what you're experiencing isn't a useful alarm signal. It's noise. Noise that's draining your energy, your sleep, and your ability to think clearly. The Stoics found this distinction 2,300 years ago, and it remains the most precise instrument ever built for the human mind. Today, we're going to learn how to use it. Around 50 AD, a man named Epictetus was living in Rome. He wasn't a senator. He wasn't a professor at some prestigious academy. He was a slave. And precisely because he was a slave, because he knew firsthand what it meant to control nothing, not his time, not his location, not his future. He understood something that most of us spend an entire lifetime trying to figure out. In the very first paragraph of his Enchiridion, he wrote something that can be summed up like this. Of all the things that exist, some are up to us and some are not. Our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our attitude toward what happens to us, those are up to us. Our body, our reputation, our job title, our money, what other people think of us, those are not up to us. And what happens to our minds when we confuse those two categories? Neuroscience calls it the threat response. When the brain perceives something as dangerous but uncontrollable, the alarm system, the amygdala, fires chronically. Cortisol spikes. Rational thinking narrows. That's not weakness. That's biology. But here's what's remarkable. When we consciously learn to sort what is and isn't within our control, that same alarm circuit begins to regulate itself. Not because we're ignoring the problem, but because we stop treating as a threat something that was never in our hands to begin with. Modern cognitive therapy, CBT, is built on exactly this principle. Acceptance and commitment therapy is too. The Stoics reached the same conclusion without brain scans. Just through honest observation of how the human mind works. How much energy have we burned worrying about things we were never going to be able to change? Let's get specific. Let's talk about something that happens every single day for millions of people. You open your phone in the morning. You see that someone you know just landed something you wanted. A promotion, a dream vacation, an award, a milestone. The post has hundreds of reactions. And without being able to stop it, something shifts inside you. A mix of admiration and discomfort that's hard to put into words. Sound familiar? Social comparison has always existed, but we've never had a tool specifically designed to maximize it every hour of every day. Epictetus lived surrounded by Roman senators, free men who looked down on him as if he were less than nothing. He understood the poison of comparison better than almost anyone. And what he would say today is exactly this. That person's success is outside your control. What you feel when you see it is also, in part, outside your control. But what you choose to do with that feeling, that is completely up to you. You can turn comparison into envy that paralyzes you. Or you can use it as information, as proof that the path exists, as motivation without resentment. The difference isn't in what happens. It's in the interpretation you choose. And how do you choose a different interpretation when you've been reacting the same way for decades? This is where Stoicism becomes genuinely practical. Not as a philosophy for textbooks, but as daily training for the mind. Epictetus wasn't asking us to tune out the world. He was asking us to see it with more precision. When something affects you more than it seems like it should, ask the question, is this inside or outside my control? If it's outside, the pain you're feeling isn't an alarm worth heeding. It's the result of mistaking noise for signal. So, if so much of the world is out of our hands, what's left? More than we think. Epictetus points to three domains that always remain under our control. Three domains that no one, not circumstances, not other people, not time itself, can take from us without our cooperation. The first is judgment, the interpretation we give to what happens to us, not the facts themselves, not what someone said or what a company decided, but the meaning we build around those facts. The second is impulse, what we choose to do in response to what we feel. The impulse arrives automatically. What we do with it does not have to be. The third is desire, what we want and what we avoid, the direction in which we point our energy. How does this actually play out in a real moment of anxiety? Let's take something a lot of us have lived through. We're waiting on an important answer. A doctor, a company, someone we care about. The silence stretches on. The mind starts building scenarios, all of them bad. With every hour that passes, the inner narrative gets darker. Judgment tells us there's still no information, only the absence of information. And the absence of information is not evidence of anything. Impulse pushes us to call, to search, to control something that can't be controlled. We can notice that impulse and decide whether to act on it and how. Desire can trap us in one specific outcome. Epictetus would invite us to want to do our best, not to want a particular result, because the result doesn't depend on us alone. This distinction, practiced over weeks, reshapes how the mind works. It doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it eliminates the extra layer of suffering we pile on top of uncertainty. And sometimes, that extra layer is heavier than the original problem. There's a line from Epictetus that I keep coming back to. He said something along these lines. We are not disturbed by what happens to us. We are disturbed by the thoughts we have about what happens to us. In 50 AD, that sounded like wisdom. Today, with everything we know about how the brain works, it sounds like a technical description. Why does an idea that's 2,000 years old still feel radical? Because it runs against everything modern culture tells us. We're taught that control is the solution, that anxiety disappears when we manage more variables, when we earn more, plan better, make sure everything is locked in. The Stoics said exactly the opposite. Anxiety doesn't go away when we control more. It goes away when we stop trying to control what was never in our hands, and that requires something you can't buy. It requires practice. The same discipline we apply to the gym, but directed inward toward the mind. Start today with something small. The next time you feel something pulling at you, pause. Ask the question, is this inside or outside my control? It won't always be easy to answer, but the question alone, just asking it, already shifts something. The Stoics didn't promise a life without difficulty. They promised something more valuable, a mind that knows exactly where to put its energy. And that, in the end, is the closest most of us will ever get to genuine freedom.